And so we have Ananta Vallabha Prabhu. He's traveling to various places along with one more devotee with you, Prabhu. So there are two devotees. They are traveling in a van, and they are practically living in the van the whole day, and they are going to different places and just distributing Bhagavad Gita and other books of Srila Prabhupada, which are based upon the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. And he's meeting so many different people, and how he's interacting, how he's distributing. Many of you have asked questions in the past, how we can distribute books, how we can give to new people. So he's here, he will share with us, and if possible, maybe we can even have practical demonstration where we all can go with him and see how to distribute these books to so many different people. So Prabhuji is, as I said, traveling in the van. Apart from this, he has been in Krishna consciousness from his childhood. His parents, devotees, the whole family is very inspiring, doing so many services in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhuji knew Kirtan and Mridanga and all these things from childhood, and now his Kirtans are famous. All the devotees who come in touch with him, they are just charmed by his wonderful Kirtans. So without wasting any more time, I'll give to Prabhu. He'll be narrating and sharing some of the experiences of this and sharing some realizations. So thank you so much, everyone. Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Oh, I was just wondering, for how many of you is this concept of book distribution like very new, or how many of you have done book distribution before? No one has done. No one has. Okay. And how many of you have? Nirva Prabhu did it in college maybe, but other than that, nobody else. I see. Nice. It's book distribution. It's I'd like to make this nice, like a little interactive, because see, book distribution is sankirtan, or it's a lot of talking, a lot of interaction happens in book distribution, and so then to get ourselves into that mood of book distribution, and there's that whole concept of preaching and getting a lot of talking needs to, a lot of exchange of energy needs to happen, and so it would be nice if we could have this discussion also as a discussion. So yeah, so I was just so why do you think in the Hare Krishna movement is book distribution so, it's such a main thing? Like, why did Srila Prabhupada emphasize this one? I mean, there's so many services there are in Krishna consciousness, and they're all absolute, they're all glorious. Anything you can do for Krishna is always glorious. But there's this one service that Srila Prabhupada was very persistent about. Why do you think this one service of book distribution is so emphasized by Srila Prabhupada?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Just say some thoughts that I have. I'm not sure if it's right or wrong, but one of the main things is that book distribution itself, like one book can change someone's life. So if we can um leave a book with someone and someone is able to read it, then it may change the person's whole life just reading one book. So, or introduce them to really try to think about what this life is for, and what is the purpose of life, and all the other things, depending on what book it is. And then Prabhupada has written so many books and the other acharyas have written so many books, and other Maharajas have written so many books which are very strong, and Prabhupada's message is directly there. So it's like directly, if we want association of Prabhupada, we can't get it in any other way right now, other than his books. So those are
His
the
books. Yeah, yeah. Srila Prabhupada said, famously once said, the interviewer asked Srila Prabhupada, what will happen to your movement when you leave? You know, and Prabhupada very famously, he stirred up all his devotee crowd and disciples. He said that I will never die. And all the devotees went, Haribol. This was in Chicago, actually. And all the devotees were like, Haribol. And Jai Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada added a caveat to that by saying that I will live through my books. You know? And so Prabhupada, he wrote so many books, and that too towards his the fag end of his life, he would practically sleep only 2 hours a day, and basically he would be running, going everywhere through the day, dealing with, back in the 70s and 60s, the ISKCON Hare Krishna movement was in its, pioneering grounds. It was like spreading like wildfire. Like, there was the young youth of America that were going all around and opening centers, and he was managing all of that and taking care of this, that, and on top of that, cultivating new devotees and everything. And so then he had that intense schedule through the day. He traveled the globe 14 times. And so then in the evenings at night, he would spend time just writing uh, more books, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and all these amazing literatures that has been passed down from our disciplic succession, all the way starting from Brahma to all these personalities coming to Srila Prabhupada. Finally, it came to us. It was Prabhupada's instruction. It was given that instruction by his spiritual master. Uh, you know, does anyone remember Prabhupada's first interaction with the spiritual master? Anyone would like to say that story? And what happened from that story?
Hare Krishna. Are we audible? Everybody can hear us?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, good. Just making sure. So anybody would like to share what happened in Prabhupada's first meeting with his Guru Maharaj?
I don't know, Prabhuji, if it was in the first time, but uh, wasn't the instruction given at that time that he said to Prabhupada that you should spread Krishna consciousness in the Western world or English speaking world?
Yeah, yeah. That was the. It was so Prabhupada was invited by his friend to this, sadhu. He said that there's this very nice sadhu named Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. You should come and meet him. And Prabhupada was very hesitant. I don't want to. Through my childhood, I met so many sadhus. There were so many sadhus here and there, walking everywhere, and my father used to invite them, come home, and then he used to see that these sadhus used to come. They used to take prasad, take bhiksha, and then later on, he used to see later on in the street that the same sadhu would go and smoke bidi or do something. So he had got a very bad impression of sadhus, and he got just burnt out of the sadhus. And he was a big revolutionary back then. It was India's independence that people were fighting for India's independence, and he was a big Gandhian. He was a follower of Gandhi. And he was this big revolutionary. And he was invited by one of his friends. Hey, you should come. This is nice sadhu. This is Saraswati. You should come and see him. And he didn't want to go because he got this bad impression of sadhus. And so then he said, no, please come, just come, just come. And then he dragged Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, back then his name was Abhay Charan. Abhay, he just went, said, okay, I'll come. Just for his friend, he went. And so the etiquette is, as soon as you see a sadhu, you pay obeisances. So you pay obeisances, And as you know, imagine it's a terrace of a building. The, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is giving a class, and all these people are sitting down, and these two young boys, they come in, and they, college-going boys, they come, they pay obeisances, and then halfway from their, obeisances, they're getting up. Bhaktisiddhanta calls them out. He says, "You are young boys, you know, young educated boys. You should spread the message of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya's message of, chanting the holy name, realizing who we are, realizing who's Krishna, what's our relationship with him, how can we serve him. You should spread this message of Lord Chaitanya to the English-speaking world, to the entire world." And then Prabhupada was, he was shaken by that. He sat there, he listened to his entire class. And at the end of the class, he challenged Bhakti Siddhanta that he challenged Bhakti Siddhanta. He said, "Who's going to listen to our philosophy? We are we are a dependent nation on we're a dependent nation on the British. So who's going to listen to our philosophy?" And then Bhakti Siddhanta said that politics, everything, all these different things in the world, they'll keep changing, but the problems will always remain. The only solution is Krishna consciousness. So that is not spreading of Krishna consciousness is not dependent on anything. It's the dharma, it's the yuga dharma, the way of being liberated in this age of Kali Yuga is through the practice of Sankirtan, through the practice of sharing Krishna consciousness, through sharing Krishna consciousness, specifically through chanting the holy name. And so he said this is it's not dependent on anything, and that way he really, Prabhupada was a pure Gandhian. He himself dropped his own degree of, he was supposed to get a degree from college, but because he was a follower of Gandhi, Gandhi said that give up everything English. Don't wear their cloth, don't accept their degrees, nothing. He didn't show up for his own graduation to receive a degree. He was that. Imagine going through all your education and then not going and accepting your degree. He's that much of a revolutionary, Prabhupada was. And that level of revolutionary got smashed by Bhakti Siddhanta on the basis of the real problem is people not knowing Krishna, not knowing the true nature of their soul. So that person got defeated by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. And so then that throughout his, as he followed Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, throughout his interactions, he was always told by Bhakti Siddhanta to, write our Acharya's books in English and spread them in the Western world. And Prabhupada spent his entire life in a life of preparation. And then finally, age of 70, he got one. He tried so much. He was initially thinking he'll do a business, raise enough money, and then after that, fund the project to do preaching and go to the West and do some things. Then after that, his business failed, and then he tried so many different things. He just tried so much, and everything kept failing. And then finally, somehow, at the age of 69, he got a ticket to go on a cargo ship to come to America to fulfill his guru's instruction to share Krishna consciousness to everybody. So he came to America, and also in America, he first comes to what we say. This is the humility of Prabhupada. Also, he comes to, as he's coming to Boston, he sees America, and then he notices how much passion and ignorance and how much it's. I mean, we're living in America. We notice this, how much there's lack of culture in society over here, and that's such a tremendous task that his spiritual master told him to, share this Krishna consciousness with everybody. And he saw that, and he was saying, he wrote a wonderful prayer called Markine Bhagavad Dharma. in that prayer, he's basically saying to Krishna, Krishna, I do not have any power to this, what we say, transform anybody. I do not have this power, but I can only be a puppet in your hands. I only have faith in the holy name. And just because of that faith that we may have in the holy name, and my faith of following my guru's words, based on that only, I'm going to uh, uh, try to share to these people Krishna consciousness. And with that faith, he prayed out, just make me dance like a puppet, oh Lord, make me dance. I'm a puppet of yours. And then he comes to America, and it's not that he came to America and everybody was like, yeah, yes, Krishna consciousness. No, he first went to Butler, Pennsylvania, small town. Not, and if you go on the street, you tell Butler, Pennsylvania to somebody, they won't know where that is. He went there, he tried to start something. Nothing, nothing was happening there. He was staying with one of his acquaintances there. Then he goes to New York City, and in New York City, he first goes to Upper Manhattan, where all these rich yogis, Upper Manhattan is famous for its posh areas and all these middle-aged housewives who used to come and do yoga at these studios. And he tried to start something over there, and that was nothing happening. People were just appreciating, but nobody was taking Krishna consciousness from their heart, that this was the real revolution of my life. Nobody was taking that. And then he goes down to the lower east side, to Bowery, and he's in the Bowery. He's trying to start something over there. He finds this one person who was interested, and he starts living with him. And then Prabhupada is saying that in his letters, he's like, I found one person who's interested. I will take him to India, to Vrindavan. I'll train him up, he says. But he was so excited that this one person's interested. And then what happened was, once this person, he overdosed on LSD, and he was very high on drugs. And he kicked Prabhupada out of his own out of that apartment. And Prabhupada was alone in the cold streets of New York, just walking alone, nowhere to go. And this is a posh. He's a cultured Bengali man, from India. Such family heritage, everything. What is he doing in the slums of New York City? He's a cultured Bengali man. Why would, with such authenticity, he had such family heritage. On top of that, he was a sannyasi. And before coming to America, he was in Vrindavan, the perfection, he was in Vrindavan. He could have easily said, I could just go back to Vrindavan, and be happy over there, just doing my bhajan, and then he said, he's coming from a nice, rich neighborhood of Calcutta, like with a nice family heritage and everything. And here he was in middle of New York City, kicked out by a drug addict from an apartment, walking alone on the streets of New York. And then he went to one acquaintance's house, and he allowed Prabhupada to stay, and they found later an apartment, a little storefront, 26 2nd Avenue. And then from there, he started, he really started the Hare Krishna movement from that point. And so this is the faith that Prabhupada had in, his guru's instruction, that no matter what came, he just wanted to stay focused on his guru's instruction. Because externally, Prabhupada seemed like a failure, initially. Like everything he did was just failing. But he had that faith in his spiritual master's instructions. And his spiritual master's instructions, but just because he had that faith in that, it was just a matter of time until, the real success of Prabhupada was his faith in Srila Prabhupada, in his spiritual master's instructions. The external manifestation of it just happened because of that faith in his spiritual master's instructions. And so then us, as followers of Srila Prabhupada, that instruction carries to us as well, of sharing Krishna consciousness. That is the age. That is the Yuga Dharma of this age of Kali Yuga, where we are sharing Krishna consciousness with everybody, and that deepens our own Krishna consciousness. Because the very nature of sharing is making us selfless. You know, we're going out of our way, like just like Prabhupada, going out of his way. He stayed in Vrindavan, and himself caught the next boat to India and continued to share. And so us actually make progress in our own growing by sharing Krishna consciousness, by imbibing that mood of selflessness. His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj, a very prominent, he was like the right hand man of Srila Prabhupada. When finally in the 70s, ISKCON got like a wonderful, like it was an explosion. Just people were joining the Hare Krishna movement like nothing, like crazy. Yeah. He said, you know, people talk about austerities. We're trying to do austerities. You know, like I'm going to eat very little. I'm going to, you know, all this yogis and all these different people. They're saying we need to have all these austerities and different things. The real austerity for this age of Kali Yuga is Sankirtan. Doing Sankirtan is the real austerity of this age of Kali Yuga, because it brings out this level of selflessness within a person that challenges that the very material nature of that person's. And it's not only that. Did anyone know the first verse of Shikshashtakam? There you go. Hare Krishna, are we audible?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Is it Renata, please?
Nobody is answering. Nobody is answering Prabhu's question. Yes. So that is one of the verses of Shiksha Ashtakam. But Prabhuji is asking what the first verse.
Is it na dhanam, na janam, na?
That's the fourth verse. Yeah. Chetu Darpana. Yes, that was correct. Yeah, Chetu Darpana. Is it possible to pull it up nearby, Prabhu? It's nice. The Shikshashtakam, that first verse, we'll just go through that verse, because that verse glorifies Sankirtan, the process of Sankirtan. And it'll be nice to get that understanding of what is the Sankirtan, why are we doing it? Yeah, if you could pull it up, it'd be nice. You could just read that. Yeah, that's it. Someone would like to read the Sanskrit?
Yes, Prabhuji. चेतोदर्पणं मर्जनं भवमहादावाग्निनिर्वापनं श्रेयास्कैर्वा वितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दं बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्ण अमृतस्वादनं सर्वात्मा स्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्ण संकीर्तनम्.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Raksha Mataji. That was very nice. Very sweet. We can read the translation. Somebody would like to read the translation? And then we'll just keep the share screen on the translation. We'll analyze that.
I can read Prabhuji. Translation.
Yeah.
Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Hare Krishna.
Yes, yeah. This is Sri Krishna. This is Sri Krishna Sankirtan. Uh, so the first one, it says, "Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan," which is in the Sanskrit was "Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam." Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which is what? Which is what? Which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years, right? Uh, so now that's Cheto Darpana Marjana, right? Which is Cheto is uh, the heart, right? The Cheta. Darpana is the mirror, right? It's the mirror. So it's cleaning that. Marjana means cleaning, so cleanses that heart. So just doing Sankirtan cleanses that heart of all dust accumulated. Bhava Maha Davagni, Bhava Maha. So Bhava Maha is Bhava Sagar. We hear this. It's a conditional life that we go birth after birth. So many lifetimes, innumerable lifetimes. We've been here, getting so much conditioning in our consciousness that is against our true nature of our soul, which is what Satchit Ananda. Eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss, serving Krishna. That's our true nature. But so many lifetimes we've just been being conditioned, Bhava Maha Davagni, and also that condition is burning us. It's burning us. It's we're being tormented in this world. Like it, I'm, I don't need to prove that. It's self evident. And but this is power of Sankirtan. It extinguishes that fire of a conditional life of repeated birth and death. Then Shreya Kairava Chandrika. So Shreya Kairava Chandrika, the Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction of the humanity movement. Shreya Kairava if you've been it's one of the most early in the morning during full moons, looking at the very cool. Just feel very nourished just by the moon's presence. And
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sorry, the voice is breaking a lot. Cannot hear very well. Could you please repeat the last from the verse? Hare Krishna. Not sure if Anandal Prabhu is still there. We can't hear you, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, I think his network is down there.
Probably they're driving.
Yeah.
there's like 2 bars. Hare Krishna, are we?
Yes, Prabhuji, now you are audible.
Hare Krishna, yes, I hear you.
Hare Krishna, yeah. So it's so I think last you heard was the verse that I was quoting, Nitai Pada Kamala, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. Okay. So Nitai Pada Kamala, Koti Chandra Sushitala. That's the cool rays of the moon. If you take shelter of Nityananda's lotus feet, Koti Chandra Sushitala. It's like the feeling of millions of millions of moons rays coming on your heart. It's very satisfying. So we're burning so hard in this material conditioned life, but this Sankirtan movement is a prime benediction for humanity. It's that benediction to get out of this repeated birth that cycle, this conditioning that we've gotten. And that benediction feels like the cool rays of the benediction moon, Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam, then Vidyavadhu Jivanam. Vidyavadhu Jivanam. So the word Vadhu means life. It also means wife. And wife is said to be the life of a husband, right? So it is said that it is the life of all transcendental knowledge. So this transcendental knowledge, um, we we can study, we can analyze, we can talk about it, right? We can even practice it and get into it. It's very good. We can do all that, but if we actually want to feel that amazing life in this knowledge, this the feeling that just that amazing feeling of doing this knowledge, that comes through Sankirtan, through the congregational chanting of the holy name, or speaking of the glories of Krishna with each other, or sharing of Krishna consciousness with others. That's when you feel life in the knowledge. Just like it said, the best way to learn something is to teach something, right? Teach that same concept to somebody. That means that you really realize that knowledge, and then you can actually talk about it and share that knowledge with somebody. So that is what's the meaning. It's the life of not just general concepts or knowledge we're talking about. This is the epitome of knowledge that we're talking about. We're talking about the knowledge of us trying to get back to Godhead. And how do we realize that? We can realize that by sharing Krishna consciousness. We can actually feel life in that knowledge. Yeah. And then it increases the ocean of transcendental bliss. So Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. So it increases Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. Um, it increases the ocean of transcendental bliss. Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam. So we can actually taste the nectar for which we're always anxious. We're nectar seeking entities. We're pleasure seeking entities. We're going all around trying to find pleasure, but we're getting frustrated everywhere. The one pleasure we can actually find is in Sankirtan, in the holy name, in sharing Krishna consciousness and discussing about Krishna. And so then this book distribution that we do, um, His Grace Kalakanta Prabhu from Florida, he's a senior disciple. He's an initiating guru, and he's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He says that book distribution is industrial heart cleansing. Is industrial heart cleansing. It cleans your heart a lot. He um, before we left for book distribution, he shared with us that book distribution is not. It is there for. There is the more books you get out, people's lives get transformed in ways you can never imagine. Just by one book, uh, people have become devotees. I myself have so many of my what we say. There's one devotee. So many of my friends in the ashram that I live, they just came because of books. They found Srila Prabhupada's books and they moved into the ashram, started practicing Krishna consciousness. Became steady devotees, became initiated. So many of my friends, just by finding a book. One boy, he found a book in. He's from Montana. Okay, Montana is just like a state that we never fathom of even traveling to. And Montana is up northwest in America. And so he's over there, and he found one Science of Self-Realization book, and he read it, and it wasn't even his. He found it in his friend's in his friend's bookshelf, and he was interested in spiritual topics. He was like into that whole scene. And so then he said, "Can I have that book?" He took the book, he opened it, he was reading, and then when he read, he was just blown away by the sense of self-realization. And then after that, he was looking for, where are the people that are following this. So then he looked up in the back of the book all the centers, of the Hare Krishna temples. He was contacting temples, and many temples weren't responding. And then finally, he was able to get into contact with our center in Gainesville, Florida, and they they said that yeah, you could come to the ashram and move in. And and it happened to be that there were a group of devotees that were traveling from Canada back to Florida, driving in a van. And as they were driving, they were going through Montana, and no, they were going through Washington and Washington State, and then Oregon, and then slowly cutting down. So they said, okay, we can cut to Montana and then pick you up from there, go through the North Dakota, South Dakota, and everything, and then come back to Florida down. So they came. We reached Florida. Yeah, they came. They picked up. They picked him up in Montana. They drove down to Florida, and he joined the ashram. He lived in the ashram for some time, and then he got initiated, and now he's has a family. He's a proper devotee. Just by he found an SSR in his friends. SSR, sense of self-realization, in the bookshelf of his friend. And that book, we don't know how it traveled to that his friend's bookshelf. So getting these books out is very powerful. We don't know how. We're not. We don't know how it can influence somebody. Just getting these books out, and so that's one way of understanding how powerful it is for the distributor. With Kalakanta Prabhu, he was telling us that more than the distributor, for a person to get a distributee who gets the book distribution, the activity of book distribution is most beneficial for the distributor, the person who's distributing the books. Because why? That person is engaging in this same verse. That person is really diving in. If you really want to understand what is your true nature as a soul, if you want to go deep into it, sharing Krishna consciousness is very crucial. And one of the most prominent ways is book distribution of doing that. And and that was the mood that we were told. And when we got out there, we went out to the books. It's a big mental game. That's your mind is fighting against this amazing power of Sankirtan that is coming to you. It's fighting. We first went. Our first stop was Tallahassee, Florida. We went down, and usually there's this whole network of book distribution vans in North America. There's these amazing devotees, brahmacharis, that travel all across North America in vans, and they distribute books at college campuses. They distribute it at these big music festivals. There's all these youth from all across North America come to these big music festivals, and they're all open-minded, searching for things. Searching for. That's where they go into the scene of music and drugs and other things like that. And so they come over there, and these book distributors are there because these people are seekers, and then they distribute so many books to them. But now, since coronavirus happened and everything, many of these music festivals got shut down for the summer. And so then you're wondering, what can we do? Where can we go for doing book distribution? Where can we get most people? And we figured Walmart parking lots are very powerful places because everybody goes there for their groceries. They're they're always going to be there, and also there, what do we say, just so we thought we could meet them and distribute books to them. So we first went
Prabhuji's sound is breaking again.
last Florida. We first tried, okay, not Walmart. Let's try Whole Foods. You know, the Whole Foods a little bit like yoga-minded people, sattvic. Haribol?
I guess remaining part we'll have to continue tomorrow.
Yes.
Hare
Will you
Krishna.
be
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna?
Yes, this was very wonderful, but the voice is
Okay.
breaking a little bit now, I guess, again.
Yes. Intermittently breaking. Actually, we'll see if Prabhuji can continue more on the nectar sharing tomorrow. Actually, this is a very interesting time period because I think Prabhupada's 125th birthday this year.
Oh, really?
His 125th birthday anniversary, and everybody got to hear from Prabhuji about Srila Prabhupada. How Srila Prabhupada, you know, went through so many challenges and then did so much excellent service that all over the world now people, every country of the world practically, people know about Krishna. So thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much for sharing.
I'll share more of the interactions and the wonderful experiences we have, I guess, tomorrow. Today is nice, at least the why, and then tomorrow we can do the how.
Yes, absolutely. So Prabhupada used to say, many times devotees used to ask Prabhupada, how can we please you? How can we please you? So Prabhupada gave different answers, different types, but one answer which he regularly was there is, if you want to please me, distribute my books. That was also there, one of the answers. And of course, Prabhupada one time said, if you want to please me, you become Krishna conscious.
Krishna conscious.
So if you can become Krishna conscious, that would be very nice. And distributing Srila Prabhupada's book is a practical application for becoming Krishna conscious as well as a sign once you have become Krishna conscious. So any devotees would like to ask any questions from Prabhu based upon what he just spoke?
Hare Krishna,
Like, one
Prabhuji.
second.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So I had one quick question. We have the community that we live in. There is a pool, and they have put on a book stall kind of thing. Like anybody can come in, take any kind of book they want to read. If they return, it's good. If they don't return, like you have to let it go. So this email just came to me today, and I was wondering that I need to ask this question to Atul Prabhu. Can I keep couple of books that I have in that area? Is there any kind of offense that goes with it if I like get the book misplaced? Because I don't know who am I giving it to, but it is for like general public. Whoever comes in the pool, they would like to read books. So I had a couple of journey within and journey home. So I was thinking if I could put those over there, but I really wanted to inquire before, is it even right to do that?
Yeah. It's totally. In fact, it'll be glorious if you just leave it there. There's no offenses, not at all there. Not only it's good that you did it, but it'll be glorious that you did it. You know, that you left it over there. It's the more we can bring out to people. As I said, you don't know how this can impact somebody. You know, somebody may take it, somebody may leave it back, but they open that book and they get the transcendental knowledge. I'll give you that how powerful this Navina Nirada Prabhu. He's been doing book distribution for a long time, since like the 80s, 90s. He's just been doing book distribution, and he was thinking that, okay, now let me go to. So in the 90s, in 91, a famous incident happened in the world. The Soviet Union crashed and fell. You know, this big communist country that didn't want religion to come in their country or anything like that. And so it collapsed. And so then Hare Krishna book distributors were like, okay, it's crashed and collapsed. Now the country's open. It's finally become open country. We should go and start preaching, doing book distribution there. And so Naveen near the Prabhu decided he's going to go to this far city named Novosibirsk, which is in Siberia. It's in far away in Siberia. It's like the cold eastern side. It's one small big city in entirety of Siberia. Small big city. Yeah, yeah. It's one city which is. Anyways, he goes there. And he's like, okay, now he'll be the first book distributor in that area. Distributes so many books to to so many people over there. He went, started book distributing, and he met while he was book distributing in Novosibirsk, he met one man who approached Navina near the Prabhu, and he was trying to distribute a book to him, and, and he was shocked. He saw the book, he looked at it. It was the Bhagavad Gita, but it was like photocopied Bhagavad Gita. It was the Bhagavad Gita, but it was photocopied, and he had received it. So back when the Soviet Union was going on, there were devotees still doing book distribution in Soviet Union, and the way they printed books was that they photocopied the Bhagavad Gita. They kept photocopying it until it blurred out, and then they had to photocopy the new one again. They kept photocopying again. So that was their printing press back in Russia, where it was like shut down, the USSR. And so then this person had received a book somehow. It never got connected with devotees, nothing. He just received this book from somebody, blown away by the. And in the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the one who is most dear to me shares this message of Krishna consciousness with others. So he read that and he was like, oh my God, I need to be most dear to Krishna. I need to share Krishna consciousness. So then he started his own underground printing thing where he started printing that one Bhagavad Gita that he got. And he started printing that and he started distributing in Russia. In like over there, and when finally it opened, he came and he met Navina near the Prabhu, and and so then Navina near the Prabhu is glorifying how powerful Sankirtan is. We don't know how it goes out there and how it can enliven somebody, and so then whatever we can, whatever means we can do, we find these book sharing closets. We can just leave a book there. That's many devotees do that actually in New Jersey. There's many devotees who live in New Jersey. They leave these Bhagavad Gita or as you said, Journey Home, Journey Within, other Prabhupada's books, Science of Self-Realization, in these little sharing book closets. So it's glorious.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Such a nice question. Anybody else would like to ask any questions? Okay. So I think it's already 9:15. So we end our conference call here. If that's okay with everybody.